Yeah, so good morning and welcome everyone on our session 2 of our business data analytics series and our BA coffee breaks. So in my last session, we talked about data visualization and data discovery and visualization, where we discussed different topics like what is data visualization, what is data discovery, and data exploration, etc. In today's topic, we'll talk about AI and business analytics, because AI is like everywhere now. So we will talk about how AI is playing role in our daily lives and what AI is basically, and what business analytics play, how business analytics play a role in AI. So we'll talk about different components, different, it is like an overview of AI and business analytics. We'll talk about the components, basic parts of AI, and we will just go with some examples as well. So this is my brief introduction. I think many of you are, you know me. So if anybody is new today, so this is my introduction. I work with the British Consulting now, and my previous company was DWoods, which was an AI co-created decision-making platform. And I have experience in healthcare industry and research as well. All right. So let us talk about AI. So if we talk about AI and business analytics, businesses like where our main purpose is to, whenever we talk in the businesses, like for the businesses, why we are doing the businesses. We are doing the businesses so that we can earn something, we can get something, and earn some revenue, increase our, we will talk about the productivity, we'll talk about performance. So when all those things comes, then the companies or the organization or the businesses have to focus on the part like how to improve that performance, how to increase that performance, how to increase the productivity, and how we can satisfy our customers, how we can detect the frauds if we are in the financial sector, or how, like, we are just talking about more and more in certain ways where we can increase the performance through some means. So, but nowadays, if you feel like there are lots of data is coming from different, different sources. Industries are getting a lot of data, but so with this large amount of data, is it how comfortable we are, like our organizations are, dealing with that large amount of data? That's a question where AI plays an important role. So with the increasing volume and complexity of data, the commercial adoption of AI in business analytic, becomes very important. And AI is helping the businesses and pull out actionable insights from large and complex data sets and deliver recommendations that can be understood by the business users. So what are the important insights? So important insight is what I'm seeing in the data. I'm talking about the performance of the data, whether this performance is increasing or decreasing, and how it can bring value to my organization, how it can be useful for my business users. That is the key, where AI brings the beautiful insights, the cognitive insights, and help the businesses to grow and to improve. So we always talk about the trends, we always talk about the patterns, forecast, performance improvement, increase in productivity, sales performance improvement, etc. So there is a lot of data, and with the historical data and with the real-time data, AI helps the businesses to know the trends, patterns, better forecasts, help them in the performance improvement, and increase in the productivity. So if you see, like, I have different examples here. In every type of industry.
Narij,
Yes, Josh.
We're not seeing your screen change. If you're changing your screen, we're not seeing
I
it.
haven't changed that. I'm still on the, so you're good. Are you able to see my third screen, like where I can see, I put the AI part with
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Okay. I'm still on that. I'm just, yeah,
Okay. Introduction.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was talking about the different, I've taken different examples. If you see like, energy, if you see like different industries, healthcare industry and all that, they're everywhere, AI is helping. So we'll talk more about when we'll go into the other slides about, different industries, how AI is helping in business analytics for the different industries. So in the words of Katrina Wakefield, artificial intelligence, once a notion confined to sci-fi novels, movies, and research papers, is now making a tremendous impact on society. So I like this very much, because in the past, if you see, like when we used to talk about AI, it was just confined to sci-fi novels. We were talking about, okay, some sophisticated stuff, which was not in the reach of every person. But now this is the reality. We are dealing with AI. We are just talking about AI every day. So on your iPhone or on your cell phone, if you see the news feed from the Facebook, that is an example of AI which we are dealing, which we are using every day. Any search on Google, recommendation from Amazon or any other source, like through the recommendation engine. And if I'm going to go for the online booking for anything, there will be a couple of options. Okay, which do you want? Hotel? Do you want to go? Want to rent a car? And all those things. These all things are coming through the AI. So AI is very much into our daily lives. So now these are some examples, because we are every day dealing with these things. We are using the AI in certain way. That's why I just wanted to use these very simple examples. The next question I would like to ask you can just put the comments in the chat window. So where do you find most beneficial use of AI in your daily life, other than the examples I have mentioned in my previous slide? So George, you want me to wait for this, or the people
Well,
can
they could if they have a comment. If you have a comment, anyone about AI in your daily life, then yeah, you can comment now. I know I just got a new vehicle, and all of the technology that's in that new vehicle, warnings about whether there's someone on my blind side, or if I'm backing up, if there's an object that's detected, and things along those lines, as well as the navigation. So I think there's a lot of things that are there. There may be somewhat, maybe in some of the infancy stages, but it's still the machine trying to help you to do something a little bit more efficiently and effectively. So that's just a simple example from me. Anyone else have examples of AI, how it's being used in your business or in your personal life?
Just like Niraj said, from being stuck in the house with COVID, we're all watching a lot more on our television or screens. So it's kind of interesting to see how your viewing history is used to make recommendations for future viewings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Okay. All right. I think we can go on. If there's any other comments, you can put them in chat, and we'll elaborate on them and try to answer them a little bit later. So yeah, you can go ahead, Rich.
All right. So yeah, there are some facts actually, which shows more emphasis on importance of AI. Everybody's aware of that, but I just wanted to put this slide. Like if you see, according to Statista, the global market of AI is expected to touch $118.6 billion by 2025. And these all like shows some sort of importance, like AI is going to, the importance of AI is going to increase in the coming years. I know like this year has changed the whole thing, but then also we'll just discuss it later, like post-COVID also, how AI is helpful, or how AI is going to help or contribute, or is an important part in the society still. So I would like to focus on the last fact as well. So according to the latest 2019 Business Intelligence statistics, over 60% of business executives believe that a well-planned AI strategy can create more data-driven business opportunities. And 72% business leaders consider AI as a major business advantage. So, so this is a study, like Deloitte conducted one study on 250 executives. So they wanted to see like what is their viewpoint for the business benefits of AI. So if we're talking in terms of how they're benefiting their businesses, so they surveyed about 250 executives, and this was the contribution. Like this was their answers, like, okay, 51% it said like AI will help them enhance the features, functions, and performance of their products. And 36% said like it will help optimize internal business operations. Another 36% said like free up workers to be more creative by automating tasks. So 22% said like it will contribute reduce headcount through automation. So if you see like 51% says it will help them enhance the features, functions, and performance of their products. All right. So let us move into little details of AI. So basic AI concepts and forms. So when we talk, the AI, like there are many terms interchangeably people use: machine learning, deep learning, neural nets, and process automation. Cognitive insight is another concepts or form, I can say. But if you see like more and more, like people just use these three terms, like machine learning, deep learning, neural nets, and sometimes they just use them interchangeably. But there is subtle difference in that, which we will talk in my next slides. So now I would like to ask you one question. What is the machine learning? If I'm talking about, okay, as a layman, like if I say like what do you think like machine learning is? Anyone?
And what is machine learning? I know we program the computer to do certain things as a programmer, and you develop these computer programs to do certain things. I look at machine learning as being able to program it, but as a result of the feedback and information that it gets, the actual decisions that are made by the program actually changes as it gets more information and more data. So anyone else have a idea of what machine learning is all about? How do you see machine learning? It seems like very mythical, machine learning. How does machine learn how to do anything? Does anybody have any comments on that? I'll tell you a little story. There was a guy who years ago, he worked at Wayne State University here in Detroit, and he was very into machine learning. And when he graduated, he could not find anyone that would employ him to do things related to machine learning. But you fast forward that a few years, now the guy, he has offers from everywhere because people recognize that skill. So he picked up the skill. He saw the benefits of it, but he was like ahead of the time, and so people weren't really interested in that field.
That's true.
And so now he's in very big demand because of his knowledge of machine learning. So so from a business analysis standpoint, what do you guys see as far as business? How does that relate to our field? How does it relate to business analysis or business analytics when it comes to machine learning? Anybody have any ideas on that?
Seems like it's a way to help with forecasting.
Yes. Right. And so how would you actually, when you say forecasting, Kathy, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's, again, it's a great topic for today, Niraj, with tying in the business analytics, because as you're going through this, I keep going to the whole dashboard concept that everybody is really, heavily leaning on now. And the whole premise of that is to take the data that you have, learn from it, and make better decisions for the future. So it seems like, that's how I that's where my head's leaning when someone talks about attaching machine learning to business analysis. It's that forecasting, or making, like you said, improving the insights that you have into what you're doing.
Well, I'll give you another practical example. You're running a project, and your project has data coming from lots of different sources. I mean, if you go, like, we know that we have a project management information system. It has all the information about our projects and what's going on. It has information about when tasks are supposed to start, when they're supposed to finish, deadlines, has issues and all of that. And then we could bring in additional external data, either from other sources, and you put all that. If you put all that into your AI, right? What happens, and what I've seen this happen, because in experiments, I would put it in AI, and basically what happens is that as the computer is going through and sifting through all this data, it will start connecting some of the dots that I wouldn't see necessarily. And it would say, here's some insight from this data. And that's happening now with the business intelligence tool. It's happening with Tableau, right? So you have all this data. You may look at it and see one thing, but it may detect some patterns that says, okay, hey, this thing is trending in this direction. And so it's constantly running, constantly analyzing that data, and then giving you insight about the data. That's how I'm looking at machine learning. I don't know if anybody else sees it from a different standpoint, but that's what I've seen.
Yeah, that's right, Josh. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about this in detail. So when I thanks Kathy, thanks George. Were very good examples, and definitely, we want machine learning, like we use it in forecast and better, I should say, like better demand forecasting, etc.
Right.
And to connect those dots, which we are not able to see, or the human intervention is not able to do that. Machines are capable of doing, connecting those dots, and we're bringing the beautiful insights or beautiful results for our decision makers or for our businesses. So, so machine learning as a branch of AI focus on the business applications, building applications, and where machine is learning from the data and improve the accuracy of of our models, I can say. So the basic thing is, here in machine learning, the human intervention is still there. So human intervention is there to learn and label the data sets, where someone is labeling the data set, and machine learning models will train and learn on the base of the label data, so which is fed into it. And this is more specifically called as a supervised learning, where if I'm a a data scientist, or I'm working on the models, then I'm just doing all that stuff initially, and then machines are learning. So that is basically the machine learning, is where we are doing the supervised learning. So it is a tool for turning information into knowledge again, and where the machine is helping us to identify the undetected patterns, which is not possible possible with the simple stuff, or which we cannot do it from the complex data. And so I have added few examples here, like if you see an image recognition machine. So the image recognition machine may be given like millions of pictures to analyze. And after going through endless permutations, the machine acquires the ability to recognize those patterns, shapes, faces, and more, and will just bring us the results. And automatic filing of a calendar by Siri, Cortana, like on our cell phones, and or our computers, I can say. Driver assistant features, as George already mentioned about his new car and the features in it. So these all are, through the machine learning, but the only difference is like human intervention is there. So I have to feed the data, I have to label the data, and then train the machines to learn, from those, learn from those models, which is being done by someone. So let us go into the second part of AI, deep learning. So as it is like very much clear from the name itself, like deep learning. Deep learning is, I'm just going into more details. So the difference between machine learning and deep learning is like, in deep learning, the human intervention, gets cut. There is a possibility, like I should not say, like, we need not to use the label data at all. Deep learning can leverage label data set to inform its algorithms, but doesn't necessarily require a labeled data set. So it is totally instead, in deep learning, machines can leverage, leverage the data. They can just machines can do it themselves. So it is totally the part of unsupervised learning, where no human intervention is required. And in deep learning, the heavy neural nets usually are used to bring the results and to identify those patterns and other stuff. Because in supervised learning, when I'm talking about the machine learning, we need to label the data, but in unsupervised learning, it is unstructured, as a unlabeled data where machines, everything are doing on their own, and they're going deep into the learning process in the depth of the layers of the neural network. So because when we talk about the neural network always have different layers. So we compare it, with the neurons of our brain. So with the different permutations and combinations, and the neural nets will try to fetch, they will go deep and try to bring out the maximum information from the heavy, large, complex data sets. How now the question comes, like, deep learning and neural nets, are they both same? Because many times you might have heard like people use them interchangeably as well. Deep learning, if I'm talking about the deep learning, the people say, okay, this is a neural nets. They are, but there are, again, a very subtle difference. So deep learning is, I can say, because neural nets always talk about the layers. So when I'm talking about more than 3 layers of the neural nets, then we are talking about the deep learning. So I'll tell you about the layers in my next slide for the neural nets. So if I'm talking about input, output, and output layers, so and it is more than 3 layers, then definitely it is the deep learning. Deep learning would acquire more data points to improve the accuracy. So that's why in the larger complex data sets and in the larger problems, business problems, so always the deep learning is helpful. So I've given some examples here, just like detecting fraudulent cases in the financial sector data in banks, etc., and processing commands and sensors and self-driving cars. So if you see, these are very sophisticated, very, I can say, like, we need to get these accuracies, just like processing commands and sensors and self-driving car, we need very much accuracy in these things. And so that's why we use deep learning kind of neural nets for these kind of applications. The next is the neural nets. Neural nets is very famous, and specifically we called it the artificial neural net. Sometimes people call it ANN, and there are different forms of neural nets as well, just like CNN, RNN, etc. But people sometimes call neural networks as the artificial neural nets. They mimic the human brain through a set of algorithms. And in the neural nets, actually, So I was talking about the layers. So I was talking about how it is different from the deep learning. So in neural nets, it consists of 3 layers: input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. So through these layers, like whenever data comes, and through these different layers, like in hidden layers is the one like which try to get the different combinations. It will try to, it's more like permutations and combination kind of concept. They will just try to get, okay, what can be the best combination, or like all the algorithm will be the algorithm itself will try to find out that. So in the neural net there will be only like 3 layers: input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. But there can be more than one hidden layer. When it is more than one hidden layer and more than 3 layers in neural net, that will be the deep learning, what we discussed in our previous slide. Again, neural networks helps to solve the complex business problems, because they are based on the principles to mimic the processes of the human brain. Just like, for example, for the facial recognition, feature extraction, fraud detection again, and cancer cell research or analysis, etc. The neural nets play a very important role. The next is robotic process automation. I think many of you are already aware of that. So this is more advanced than the earlier business process automation, because we here the robots help the businesses, and they act like the human inputting, consuming information from the different sources. And examples here are updating customer files, just like with address change or service addition, replacing lost credit card, and reading the legal documents, etc. So here the difference is only the robots are doing all that stuff. Cognitive insights. This is the key. This is very important form of AI. So why we are doing all that? That the question comes, right? Why we need that? We are doing our analysis, we are finding the results, but why we need the AI? So AI, first of all, when there is a large complex data and we need to have the better results, then we use the AI. So what is the definition of that better result? What do you want? Like, okay, so there what like cognitive insights come. So cognitive insights like is an algorithm to detect patterns in vast volumes of data and interpreting their meaning in like what is important for the businesses. Like cognitive insights helps to identify, okay, if in my customer retention or customer churn problem, or I want to know, okay, if I'm in a retail industry, I want to know what is the probability this customer is going to come back or not. So, okay, what is their likelihood to come back? And similarly, like to identify our credit fraud. And if we want to know, okay, we want to make the personalized, targeting of digital ad for the, just say like the promotions, if we want to send promotions to our, targeted customers so that we can help them retain in our, organization or in our company, so that they don't churn, they don't leave our organization. So those kind of things, comes into cognitive insights. So cognitive insights is nothing. It is helping the businesses to find out, okay, what is useful for them, what pattern or what information will be beneficial or can help them grow or increase or earn or increase their productivity or improve their performance. All right. So the next part is their components, AI components. So this is kind of a process. I should not say the component, but I don't want to label it as a process as well, because we are talking about the different pieces in the process of the AI. So first of all, AI applications. The AI applications are like those packaged applications that solve a business problem, like the virtual agents, financial planning, etc. And data prep and cleaning is essential. Make your data ready for AI. Model, build, train, run. So need to prepare, because when our data is ready, then we need to model it, build the model, train the model, train the data, train the model, and run it for our businesses. So like usually the process is sometimes we do it like train and test set, out of a total 100% data set. Some data in the machine learning will be used for training the data set, and the rest will be used as a test set where we can run our model. We can find out, okay, what is the accuracy on our new data set or our incremental data set? Is it behaving in the same way, or there are some changes? Because data is data. There may be many things which sometimes we are not able to know. Like if for example, I just want to give an example of this COVID situation. The situation of the data has changed now. Like in this 1 year, I can say the patterns or the behavior of the customers, what my trends or my machines were seeing, since, in the last year till 2018, or in the starting of, till 2019, or in the starting of 2020, will not be able to see after that, like, because the trend has changed. Now people are more like, if you see initial phase of the COVID, when it started, the companies had to switch on, the model, like buy online, pick up in store, or the curbside pickup. So all those things. So things have changed. So I can say, like, the data is data, and there may be certain situations where the things may change, and we cannot depend upon all the time. Okay, my machine has, on the basis of the historical trends, it has said that, but the things have changed, and now these outliers, I can say, will have to be taken into consideration as well. So how we are training a model to run the model. So that's why, like, if I'm talking about the testing set or the incremental data, the things may change as well. And we need to test. We need to see, like, whether I'm seeing the same behavior, or is there any change in that. The features are like, we can talk about different features of our, what we get from our models, like, speech, images, vision, etc. Natural language processing, the nervous system, which is the nervous system of enterprise AI, and the life cycle management, managing the life cycle of AI models, and to understand how they perform, and if there are any need, to make any changes or to improve those. So that is where it is, that is where it comes. And these are all the different steps of, or I can say, the components of AI. All right, so let us talk about application of AI in business. So you all are pretty much aware of that, like, we talk about the chatbots, virtual assistants, business intelligence tools, targeted online advertising, voice recognition, pattern recognition, predictive analytics. So the different, simple, I just wanted to add these simple examples because we daily use, these things. All right, now there's one question for you. What are the other applications you think of AI in businesses?
Well, one of the things that, Pablo has his hand raised. Go ahead, Pablo. I'll let you go ahead and speak.
Yeah, here in Radial Automation, where I'm working, we have this AI model inserted in the PLC,
Mm-hmm.
and I really don't know what really does this thing indeed, but and that's the reason why I'm here, because I would like to try to learn what kind of things is possible to achieve with machine learning and this AI thing. Indeed, I'm looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is a model inserted in the PLC that is collecting all the data. Well, the PLC is collecting data, and instead this model is, as you mentioned, for learning from the patterns that are hidden by the human being, and recalculate some algorithms to have better performance in the process. But the magic inside this model is something that I really don't know how it is happening.
When you say Pablo, when you say Pablo is in Mexico,
Okay.
Mexico City with Rockwell. What is PLC? What does PLC stand for, Pablo?
This product life cycle.
Yeah, you know, you have this a PLC is a processor that controls some machine or some process.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know, this we call these as an you know, we have this edge computing, and here we call this as edge machine. We try to short distance between how the information is processing in the process in the PLC, not
Right.
in the server or in a main office, you know.
Well, that's an interesting point, Pablo. And I think what we have to recognize is that a lot of times these AI applications are, for us, the end user, is like a black box, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
We know stuff coming in, and then we have to have to realize that something's going to come out, but we don't know necessarily how it actually does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No,
I mean,
that's a good point, Josh.
one example, think one example would be, you know, let's say for instance, when things were opened up and we were doing a lot of flying back and forth, yeah, I would get to the airport and then I would get maybe a message from Delta saying my flight has been delayed, right? And then later on, I might get another message from Delta saying my flight has actually been canceled. Now that's good, but what's better would be if it would say your flight is being canceled, and here are 7 other flights from other airlines that you can follow up on. And by the way, you're only 100 miles from your other destination. Maybe you could rent the car and still get to your destination. So those kinds of things, I think, is what AI can do for us. It can start to look at those things. I mean, we process it, you know, I mean, that's how we're trained. We process information like that. And so we want the machine to be able to give us that type of insight where it's actually going out and looking at other options and then giving us those other options to make a decision on. So that's my thought about how AI in business might work.
Yeah, no, that's right, George. Definitely, very good example.
And then for Pablo, I had a chance to work with them, and that is they win. You know, they have to bid on these different contracts and things like that. And so one of the things that AI could do would be once you put your bid in and you submit your proposal, is to give you some type of understanding of your probability of being able to win that bid. So increasing your ability to be able to win more contracts. And what information do you need in order to do that? And looking for things like that. That's how I can see maybe AI helping in that type of business. Yeah. So any other?
Nice. Thank you.
Okay. Niraj, with your background with some time in the healthcare industry, I'm curious what your views are in there. I know I've taken a couple classes on, you know, doing BA work in the healthcare industry, and with trying to digitize everybody's health record and all the security issues and privacy issues associated with that. But looking above the fray, above the issues, you know, it seems like the healthcare industry has a lot of potential with this.
Yes, no, definitely right, Kathy. I have added some examples. Let me, from the different industries. So let us see. Like there's a one like
there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to see like, okay, what in different industries, how the things are going. So I just added at least one example from around 6 industries. So let us talk about the healthcare. So this Massachusetts General Hospital has partnered with computing company NVIDIA to implement AI-powered machines for disease detection, diagnosis, treatment, and management processes. So these programs, like if you see here, like the programs are currently training with more than 10 billion medical images in radiology and pathology to facilitate faster training and diagnostic capability. So similarly, there are many hospitals, so why I've used this example, because this is the oldest oldest hospital who have just, utilized, like in terms of hospital, this is the one like who did it, first time, like, than other hospitals. So there are many other hospitals who are into, this, who are going into this AI field. So if you see, like in this COVID time also, many things in the other countries, were supported by AI. And it's pretty much like, I can say, AI is playing important role, during, at least during this time also, like in the healthcare industry. In the retail sector, I have users, everybody is aware of the Amazon, and I need not to speak Amazon. I need not to tell more examples or anything for Amazon, but I just use one example, like uses AI to help customer wash up, purchasing recommendations, and other services. For the financial services, Amex, American Express. So they are pretty much advanced in AI, and they leverage its data flows to develop apps that can help them, detect the fraud in real times, and identify that they just helping their business, their clients or the online business merchants, providing the trend analysis and the benchmarking part. Benchmarking is very important in, American Express. I worked on one of the projects with American Express in my previous company, and they are pretty much, they like it, like, okay, what, how they can maintain with the other companies, and like they just want to know about the delinquencies ahead of time, and want to get those alerts so that they can prevent it. They just don't want to bear, they just can prevent it ahead of time. So American Express from financial services is pretty much ahead using the AI. In manufacturing sector, many companies, using that. So I just used the example of Volvo. Volvo uses data to predict, where the parts will fail or when the vehicle needs servicing, etc. In energy sector, BP, British Petroleum, is pretty much using the AI to drive the new level of performance, to improve the performance, and use the different new resources if needed. In service industry, Microsoft is pretty much ahead. I need not to tell, everybody is aware of that as well. Like Microsoft is, using the AI. The Cortana, a virtual assistant, is helping us in our daily lives. Also, the people who are using Microsoft, and and Microsoft is trying to go more beyond, in this AI capabilities to complete any task. Social media, Facebook, most of the people are on the Facebook, nowadays, the Facebook's image recognition breakthroughs, messenger chatbots, newsfeed. I've given the example in the starting as well about the newsfeed, and photo tagging, etc., friend suggestions, and all those stuff. This is the part of the AI. And this is like a company's AI team recently trained an image recognition model to 85% accuracy using billions of public Instagram photos tagged with the hashtags. Music industry, Spotify, Pandora, these all like how we are getting those recommendations again. So these all are using the AI. Spotify uses combination of collaborative modeling, NLPs, CNNs for recommendation engines. All right, so these were some examples which I wanted to add, so that, we know, like everybody, all of us are using that in our daily lives. We are getting into that, but I just wanted to add these, like how business and how AI is, helping in every industry, in analytics point of view. So this is a general slide for the different AI tools and frameworks. If anybody wants to explore more of these, there are some things like Azure, machine learning, AWS, and all these stuff. These, if you see this H2O, PyTorch, these are more, from the data scientist point of view, programming is required in these kind of things. But this IBM Watson and AWS is your machine learning. These are kind of, if anybody wants to explore more into that, can do. All right, so this is the most interesting part of today's slide, and I can say the last slide of today's presentation, AI post-COVID, because everybody is scared and everybody is talking about, okay, due to AI, first of all, the COVID has put everybody into a different situation, and now AI, this automation, this artificial intelligence just should not, it's just, people should, it's just not be like the automation will, reduce the jobs. Because when AI, was implemented, then also people had the fear, like many, then it will just cut the jobs. So there was a analysis by BCG. They have done analysis, and they find out, like, the COVID-19 crisis is accelerating the shift to a new reality. So what is the new reality? So there are a few points I just want to discuss here. So the new reality is uncertainty requires redundancy, which inevitably means increased cost. So with the redundancy, like cost, it will increase the cost. But how AI can help? AI enables the greater scale and scope needed to build redundancy while minimizing cost. Consumption patterns are moving towards e-commerce and digital models. Yes, yeah. But how AI optimize detection of new consumption patterns and allows for hyper personalization. So if you recall, like in my one of my previous slide, we were talking about the COVID. The pattern has changed. This year is kind of outlier for the data. Like I can see, okay, because the things have totally changed. If I can see the pattern of if I see the consumer behavior till March 2020 in the United States was different behavior than after that, right? So these patterns, AI can optimize, AI can identify those patterns or the new consumption patterns pretty well, and can help the companies or the businesses for the hyper personalization. Consumers may increasingly distinguish essential from luxury items, and AI can improve R&D, innovation, new product development. AI can help that. The last is the new reality is remote ways of working are becoming the new norm, and AI-based companies are equipped for new ways of working. This is the way the AI can help. And the last new reality is on-demand labor is becoming more important. But how AI can help? The AI enables on-demand labor through more precise sales and superior supply predictions. So so with the complex data set, with the complex problem, that is the work of the AI. So AI can help in all the things to identify, patterns, reduce the cost, and working from home, if I say like it's a new norm, or on-demand labor is becoming more important, then AI can bring the value. AI can just help and help the businesses in a more precise and a more accurate way, because through the deep learnings, the neural nets, and through its I can say machine learning concepts, AI can just dig more into that and try to solve and help solving the complex business problems and bring the value to our organizations. And in the post-COVID also, AI has a lot to help in the businesses. All right, so that ends my today's presentation. This is the time for the questions now. If anybody have any questions, or we can, if anything, we can discuss, we can go ahead.
Well, I'd like to say, let's, as far as questions are concerned, how do you see, Naresh, how do you see, and talking about COVID is like a paradigm shift. And you said So the machine learning really takes historical data and then based on what happened in the past, try to predict the future. But it sounds like when there's a paradigm shift, then there's more learning that has to take place. There's more adjustments that have to take place as a result of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So with paradigm shifts, then the adjustments need to be made, where things are done, how things are done, all related to change.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone else has any questions for Niraj about AI and machine learning and neural networks?
Niraj, I'm just curious, based on your experience with all this, the component where you talked about data prep and cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is that just like with a lot of what we do in the BA world is we know it needs to be done, but time probably isn't given, or adequate time probably isn't given to that. Are you seeing, what are you seeing in the data prep and cleansing time? Are businesses understanding the importance of that step so that, you know, garbage in isn't garbage out? Or is that a step that they're not recognizing yet as important?
Yeah, no, that's very important, Kathy, and thanks for this question, because data cleaning. If I think in the last session of my BDA series, like we spoke about that. So data cleaning is the very tedious job. It's like that. Like many industries or in many companies, this part is being ignored, but data cleaning is very important. So if you're talking about more from AI perspective, in AI, the things to the machine learning and all that stuff, it will be done in a very quick manner. So we need not to spend that much time in the data cleaning, because in AI, it's the things are like, okay, instead of labeling the data, instead of doing the stuff on the full-fledged data, I can just do the feature extraction, or I can just see, okay, what is happening in my data, like through a sample and all that stuff. But in the traditional method, where we are talking about the BI, business intelligence, definitely data, it requires a lot of time. And if we don't put that time on the data, then definitely the results what we are getting from that, I can say like it will be more accurate. There will be always data quality issues, or so that will be to me, like data cleaning is very essential part, and it's been ignored. So in my previous presentation, we talk about around 60 to 70% of the time the people spend on cleaning the data. Because data cleaning, like what my data, first of all, like to understand the data, what is in the data, is there any missing thing, do we need to replace that, does it need normalization, does it need any transformation, or if there's any important information is missing, then how I'm going to fill that up, or whether I need to remove that whole information, how important that is. So all those components, all those things are pretty much essential, and that comes into this data cleaning part. Because if my data is of a good quality, then definitely my results will be of good quality as well. But if my data is missing, I have some values which does not make sense. Just like I want to give an example, I was working in one of my project in the healthcare industry in Henry Ford. So there were like in one data, and there was one field where it was like the surgery time is 0 minute and 900 minutes. So when I saw that, I was just, this is very simple example, but it's very important part, because 0 minutes of the surgery or 900 minutes of the surgery, like, I was just, I discussed with the client, and they said like, no, that's an anomaly in the data. So you need to remove that.
It's a quick surgery.
So yeah, these kind of things. So definitely, like data cleaning plays an important role. We need to identify those things. We need to know what my data is telling about, what it is in there, and if there is an anomaly or anything which we need to detect, we need to identify, or we need to.
One of the things that some of the tools out there, they are starting to do that, and they have they'll have a application or something that allows you to let them do automated data cleansing. And so they will go through and they will detect bad data. They will detect what they think is outliers, and then they will isolate the data and ask you if you want to include the data or exclude the data. So it gives you a choice as to whether you want to keep that data outside the analysis, or if you want to bring some of that data in, if it makes sense to you. So that's good, because in some cases, some of those tools can't run when there's data that is not compatible to what their algorithms are. And so you can get bogged down if you're analyzing data. You can get bogged down if you have data that's not acceptable. But if the machine can isolate that data and allow you to run it, at least you can start to get some results back, and then kind of analyze what they isolated to make sure it makes sense to you. So that's something that I think. And there's a lot more third-party tools that are being made available nowadays for that purpose of data cleansing.
Yeah, no, that's right, George, that there are many tools, but that's again comes to the person. Like, if I am a data analyst or business data analyst, or I'm a data scientist, I must know, like, okay, what this information, the tool can give me the information, okay, this is what is in your data, and this is the way you have to clean it. But then again, it comes on my head, okay, whether I need this information or not. So everything again revolves around the business problem or the business analytics we are trying to do as a business data analyst. So what we are trying to solve, what we are trying to bring, what we are trying to achieve, for that, what we need in the data and what is missing, and how we are going to, if my machine or my tool is telling me, okay, this is the through the exploratory data analysis or through descriptive analytics, they are giving me the summary, or they're giving me that, okay, this is what is in your data. But again, this comes on the final part of the analyst who is trying to find out, okay, what we need to do.